Hey! I got my thing set up. I didn't have that, so I didn't want to mess with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't even know if we were going to have it too because I didn't know what was going on with Covita, you know.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I wasn't sure too. I just didn't. Today went by so quick. I really. Are you guys still having a meeting?
Yeah.
We're not going to do anything until Friday, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So,
Do you know when the funeral is?
I believe it'll be Saturday at noon.
This Saturday?
Yeah.
Perfect. I was like, I always on Tuesdays, and I end up just like I have to like just like say, do I got to miss the meeting or not? And I always miss them, and it's like, yeah. How you doing, Marcus? Can you hear me, Marcus?
I have a couple of agendas if anybody wants.
Here, I can try to. You know what? You have yours that you sent to my email, right?
The what?
You sent me the agenda. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me. I got right here.
No, not again.
No, you can. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you.
All right. I just want to make sure the microphone issue's fixed this time.
Okay.
I'll wait for you to start.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right.
I'm good on this end.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna share the screen real quick. Where's it at? Bam. All right. There you go.
If anybody needs one, I'll put it up.
I'm good. Here you go. You need one? You got one?
He's got one. He's got
You
one.
guys have a full. You guys have a full town council.
Yeah, you got just see one more. We actually have room for one more, but this is
Right.
The meeting will come to order. Or we couldn't. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I understand. We'd have to reset it. Okay, but we got to be careful with this. Okay. All right. So the first item is
I would like to say, to congratulate Jay for being the president, vice chairman of the board.
if as long as it's the job that we want.
Well, when we rotate, and I think the thing is, the blessing is that you still have faith that I can do it. We're not going to skip it over me. So.
We'll call the president, TJ.
Does that mean you have more power? I can explain it if you like. It's just the agendas are set by myself and the vice chair with the staff and representing in community events, things like that, for the full board is kind of what that entails. So. And signing the paperwork.
Will you also run the meeting?
Right.
Okay. Is Marcus with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Thomas, come on.
We're still having some, can you, Mark, thanks for joining us.
Not a problem.
Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me all right?
Pretty good, pretty
Better,
good.
yeah, better. So Marcus,
Glad we fixed that problem.
so go ahead and introduce yourself, Marcus, again to everyone, because last month we had audio issues, so.
So my name is Marcus Beltramo. I'm the Code Enforcement Manager for the Code Enforcement Division for the County of Lake.
So he's the code, did everybody hear that okay? Because we had audio issues last month again. Can we move this over here?
Yeah, leave it over here. But if you want, we can just hook up your speaker because
We could try my speaker and see if it's better.
I think it is.
You want to try it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to try and switch over to a different speaker. Hold on one second.
We have an agenda that's not on the agenda.
Fine, fine. I'll hold on that and call you for.
Great.
And you get at least 3 minutes.
Can you hear us, Marcus, pretty good?
I can kind of hear you.
Okay, so we can't.
I can hear you well enough if you want to proceed.
Press it, yeah, press it. And we'll hook it up again. We can close it again. Can you say something, Marcus, please?
Yes. What would you like me to say? Can you hear me? Microphone check.
All right, hold on.
Can you hear me now?
How about now? Is that better than that?
Marcus, go ahead and introduce yourself again. We're just
So
going to
my
test
name is
audio.
Marcus Beltramo. I'm the manager for the Code Enforcement Division for the County of Lake.
Okay, hold on one second.
All right.
Hold on, we got to
We'll go back to the other one.
And my microphone's working on this end.
That's gonna bug,
Yeah,
if it's gonna, if it's gonna bug you too.
No, I don't. It's not about. I don't care if I'm bugged. All right, we can hear you now better on the other one. So
Let me know when you guys are ready.
Okay, so the reason we asked for Marcus to come back and join us, last month we had him here and we were discussing some of our North Shore code enforcement issues that I feel and I think the team feels and probably all the community feels are some priority right now. There's other priorities, and we're going to talk about that later with some of your issues. But for me, I've been cleaning up the Nice cutoff for 4 years as a volunteer along with several other people in this room. And then with the blight I continue to see in this North Shore, it's not getting better. It's getting probably 2 steps back. And I think with Marcus taking over the department and just recently, he's probably was invited last month, talk about his agenda, and he was talking about Clear Lake Codes. He'll talk about that. We just couldn't hear you last month very well. So I'm going to have you just kind of talk about your plans again in Clear Lake Oaks and maybe the department's goals and timeline to get stuff done. Because I know like the end of Lakeview, there's a major blight that's been there for a few months. And don't you live in the North Shore, don't you, Marcus, somewhere?
No, I do not. I live in Kelseyville.
Okay, so there's a dump zone on the end of Lakeview in Nice, and in fact, someone was killed there the other night. He was hit and killed by a car. I'm not saying anything has anything to do with the junk there, it's just that he was there living in the junk. So that's been there for a while. So hopefully, the plans you come up with will have goals intended to meet, and then you can share those in the next ongoing months with us and how you're meeting those. Because it's a lot of trash everywhere, and maybe combining forces with public works, of course, abandoned car issues and so forth. So why don't you start out with the Clear Lake Oaks project again? Because a lot of people probably aren't aware, or maybe didn't hear you last time. Thank you.
All right. So, I've been making a list of all the issues that you brought up here, and I would like to revisit those issues later on and get some more information. But regarding Clear Lake Oaks, a roadmap task force has been put together. This is a special task force combined of multi-departments, animal control, the sheriff's office, environmental health, and code enforcement. The purpose of this is to go in, find a designated area, kind of go through it, address all the issues in that area, and then also I believe there's a revitalization, beautification component to the task force. And so it's a pilot. Are we okay?
I think we're still
having issues. Do you think maybe you could just call in?
I could.
Yeah, maybe just call in with audio. That way, because I know with you talking into a phone, I think they'll hear you better on this speaker.
Not a problem.
It's forward, it gets more muffled when he's back.
What's the number?
Okay, so the phone number is 669 900
6833.
6833, and then the meeting and ID and passcode's up there. Press *6 to unmute yourself once you get in, and it should work a lot better. And you can take yourself off the audio in there right now so that you can join while you're talking. Yeah, there you go. So while he's doing that, I'll just go ahead and talk about a few things. We canceled, I know it doesn't really have a lot to do with this one, but we canceled the Lucerne area town hall. Our chair for the Lucerne area town hall, she caught COVID. She's currently in ICU still, and I think she's even, from what I understand, she's on a ventilator. Her husband passed about a week and a half ago, and so I'm not sure exactly. There we go. There he is. Get him in. How about now? Go ahead, say it again.
Can you hear me now?
That's a lot better. Thank you.
So I am getting a little echo on my end, but I'll still do my best.
We can hear you better, so that's all. That's the main thing. Go ahead.
All right. So where would you like to begin?
Talk about the plan.
Can you hear me all right? There's a lot of back feedback.
Say something if you can, real quick, please.
Can you hear me now?
Not too good.
Or just take the speaker out and let us listen to your computer.
I think that'd be better. How about now?
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me fine?
All right.
Yeah, twice.
Just continue on and don't stop.
Okay. All right. So first off, I heard a laundry list of issues and needs, and I definitely would like to revisit those issues and get some more information on them. But as far as the Clear Lake Oaks and the roadway map task force is concerned, that's a multi-department task force. It's combined of the sheriff's office, animal control, environmental health, code enforcement, and what other applicable agencies that need to be involved. So a certain area of the Clear Lake Oaks has been targeted. And the idea is to go in, address all the issues in that area, try to bring them up to the standard, and also there's a beautification and revitalization component to the task force. Now, the particulars haven't been ironed out here, It's all kind of in theory right now. We're still formulating the plan. We're still kind of getting everything organized. But again, this is a pilot program, but we're hoping that it has a positive impact. And the Clear Lake Oaks area has been chosen to participate in this program or be the target of this program. And we're really hoping for the best.
Okay, let me ask you another question. What are your goals now then as the manager besides that program? Are you guys looking at just reacting to things currently and trying to catch up? Or do you have an agenda where you're going to start going out to the field, or your field officers will start seeing things and doing admin sites on this blight and so forth?
So right now, we're in a process where I'm overhauling and re-implementing a new code enforcement division. The code enforcement division that you had in the past did not have the ability, capacity, the tools, the enforcement mechanisms, and the resources in place to address the concerns that you have. So right now we are in a complaint-based mode. We're trying to catch up on past issues, get current, stay on top of the current issues, and basically try to do better in the future. We're currently implementing a citation program, which is another tool in our arsenal that should make us more effective. We've put in some organization and some internal controls so that we're making sure complaints don't slip through the cracks. One thing in code enforcement is that the longer a problem exists, it festers. It gets bigger. And so our goal is try to nip these things in the bud in the early stages and do not let them become bigger. Do not let them become problems where they affect the overall community, where it causes contention and strife. So right now we're in the first month of getting things organized. We've hired 2 new code enforcement officers. We got another one on the way. And we're getting things in motion to be better and to do better and to also refine our tools and our enforcement mechanisms so we can be more effective. So right now it's a large scale agenda that I have, but it has to be done. The county has been, I guess I don't want to use too many negatives, but it hasn't received the code enforcement attention to the issue that it occurs. And we need to be better. We need to do better. And we're getting the tools, the people, the training, and everything we need to do to help bring these properties and the issues of concern that are affecting the neighborhoods and the community and bringing them up to the standard. And the standard is the Lake County Code. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
Okay, I've had my Moderna booster shots. Can I take my mask off? Okay, so do I just say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And what's your manager of code enforcement?
He's the
The director. Do you know what?
I'm the manager of the code enforcement division.
Okay, do you know what age? At the office. Yeah,
I'm having trouble hearing the question.
okay. Tina.
Oh, that's better.
Is her name Tina? Do you know a Tina?
Yes, I do know a Tina.
Office. Tina H. Her last name starts with an H. Okay,
I do not know a Tina H.
Yeah, her name is Tina. Tina.
I do know a Tina.
Okay, so
She takes the complaints.
just continue. Yeah,
Okay,
just
she
tell them
takes
what
the
it is.
complaints from a citizen like me. I own a house in East. I did a complaint on a paper.
Okay.
So, she writes it down. She says, I'll go look at the problem. I say, okay. And I filled it out. I said, I'll go to court, whatever it takes, okay? She says, fine. So, she calls me up. I'm running around here. She calls me up. She says, I'm out here she leaves a message. Make an appointment with me, which I asked her to make an appointment. She says she doesn't make appointments. So I said, well, if I'm taking up to Santa Rosa, how do
You just
I?
want to make a complaint against her?
Yeah, so she's riding
Then
around.
this is the place for it. If you're going to make a complaint, we can do that online. I can take one for you.
Yeah, because I got him come out and look at
Let's file a complaint because we don't want to get into the weeds of your personal situation in front of the.
Well, she said no problem and hung up on me. She didn't see a problem.
That's a complaint then. We need to turn a complaint into the county so that they can deal with it, so she can answer your problem.
That's what I did. I filled out paperwork a number of
No,
times.
he's talking about a complaint against the lady who's not.
So I can turn the complaint turn a complaint into admin for you, so then that way it gets addressed. And that way we don't have to iron out
okay.
your.
I didn't want to complain against her. I just have a complaint against
the process.
The problem.
That's exactly what we can do after. But right now we're talking about other.
So, well, my question is, she just hung up on me, and that was it.
Right.
Yeah.
so
We'll file a complaint. So stay, so we can do that. Okay.
Okay. And I took photographs.
So, Eddie, I would like to make a comment. She can file a complaint, and that's perfectly fine against the officer. But what I'm interested in is her complaint, and we want to make sure we address that complaint. So please feel free to call my office tomorrow, ask for me, and I want to make sure that we address whatever concerns or complaints that you had. We definitely want to stay on top of this, and so please reach out to me tomorrow.
Do you have the complaint number on you?
I don't have a complaint number on me, no.
Okay, I'll get the information and forward it to you. Yeah.
And I want to say something quickly. She said call CAL FIRE, and I did, and CAL FIRE agreed with me, so I just want to make about the problem.
Okay.
So I have CAL FIRE on my side with this.
Okay. Good.
Again, I want to express my interest in your complaint. Please reach out to me tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll get you connected.
Okay.
One more question. Couple things, Marcus. Like the dumping area on the end of Lakeview and East, which is off 20, right off Highway 20. I mean, doesn't code enforcement have any capability working with Public Works to clean that up?
Yes, we do. And I actually was driving by there today. I think you're talking about the dirt corner lot there. Is that right?
Yes.
So I saw that too. I was offended by that too. And I will be making accommodations to have that removed. We do have an illegal dumping fund. The illegal dumping fund is set up for such issues. And that trash and that pile needs to go. I'm on the same page with you.
I appreciate it. Cross the street to Sofa, by the way. They pick that up too. Home living arrangements. Price is right over there.
I didn't hear that.
I have a question regarding vehicles. In Upper Lake on Government Street, there are 5 buses that are taking all the bicycle riding paths, and another truck behind that with a flat tire. What is the rules and regs with taking up all that valuable bike riding space with vehicles that I don't even know where they're buses?
So I'm familiar with those vans, and I've spoken to the person responsible for those vans. Those vans right now are not in violation of Lake County code. They are operable and they run. The issue is a CHP issue. If they're parked in the same location for 72 hours, that's a violation of state law. It's also a violation of Lake County code. But the CHP is the appropriate entity to address those parked vehicles. If they're wrecked, dismantled, or inoperable, that is when Lake County code enforcement would handle those vehicles. A flat tire does not make a vehicle inoperable. They can fix that tire. But again, if it remains in the same parked place for more than 72 hours, you should call CHP to address the matter.
Here last month.
Yeah. Can't be dealing with all this, so I don't know. pass it on to that agency,
He was here last. Were you here last time? The
I don't know.
The CHP director came last time, so.
Yeah, I might have been here last time. I
Okay.
don't know. But
All right. Well, we're also getting back into that back and forth we talked about before. We have other people here for other reasons.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying I'll call them a lot.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just have a comment to that. My maiden name is Sealy. You all saw the motorhome parked there for 6 weeks this summer. I went to CHP, and the issue ultimately, and it was non-opt, so it was not roadworthy. So this is a different issue than yours, because evidently the government are roadworthy. That almost made it worse because there was no owner registration. I have one of my best friends is CHP, and just going through, they have to wait until they get, every so often they have the funds accumulated to where they can come in and clean all that out. I had to wait until this next round of grants came around. That's why it sat there so long. It's not, I think that it's fun. So it took a while to get that resolved.
That specific one where it was parked in front of your property right there?
It was parked in front of the
Right.
stand, they were barbecuing, they had pets.
I confronted them as well, and they said, "Oh, we're coming tomorrow. We're going to fix it tomorrow." And they never did. They left. And the problem too with AVA, the AVA abatement situation is when it comes to those drivable trailers, it's far more expensive to tow those because of the motor. Now, if it was just a trailer without it, then we can contract with somebody to break it down and throw it in a dumpster and take it off for a lower amount. So that's the problem right now, is trying to find a way to take care of those.
Right, that's what CHP said, is that they couldn't get it until it comes in time to get it, because now it's their mess to financially, so they're not going to get any reimbursement.
She took 3 months to do that, but yet the Lake County Park over here got one dismantled in 10 days. How's that work?
Did it have an engine on it?
Yeah, it was the one that got burnt.
I think it's because it got burnt.
It was burnt up there on site.
I think that's what it was. I'm not going to say you should burn them. I think that's what
But if it works, there's your answer.
You heard it from.
Hey, I'm saying you should probably not burn them. I'm just saying it's probably the worst thing to do, but I'm pretty sure that's why it happened faster.
Okay, so do we have any more questions for Marcus?
Marcus, maybe in a few months, we'll invite you back. Thank you for coming out or zooming in.
Yeah, and I do want to reiterate that if you are occurring blight issues or vehicle issues, feel free to file a complaint with our office. We will follow up on all complaints, and we will do it in a timely manner. Again, we just have to know where the issues are so that we can go out, assess them, and then take the appropriate measure to resolve the matter. So code enforcement is here. We just need to know of the issues and then just give us a little time to resolve those issues. So I just like to say that.
What's the phone number for you again?
707-263-2309. And if you file a complaint online, which you can do through the county website under the code enforcement, the community development department, the code enforcement webpage, just give us as much information as possible, where the issues are located on the property, how it affects you, how it affects the neighborhood. One important thing is we need to know how the issue occurring on a property affects neighboring properties and your enjoyment of that property. So anything that's of concern, just let us know about it. We will assess it. We will look into it. Code enforcement does take time to resolve issues. Unfortunately, that's a statutory and that's an industry requirement, but we will get those issues resolved, and we're doing better, and we got a strategy and organization in place. So we are here. We just need to know about the issues. So
just like remember that spot, the old Hillside Honda, is it Carson Street or something like that in Nice? Yeah. Do you remember that property, Marcus?
Yeah, we cleaned that up. We got with the property owner. It took a lot of time, a lot of pressure and a lot of convincing to get that property owner to do it. Remember, when code enforcement takes an action, we are using taxpayer money. We are a safety net. We are a last resort. Our job is to get the property owner or the responsible person to correct the issue. And the one on Carson Street was really bad. Luckily for us, the property owner or the daughter of the property owner took responsibility. It took us all the way up to the final notice and the last step before we had to step in, before they finally did what was required of them.
We were trying to get a summary abatement on it, but because it wasn't summary abatement, it didn't meet those requirements. They needed to do what was the abatement called that takes a couple months? There's another one.
I'm not sure. It's
the summary abatement, one that takes my permission to just go ahead and you guys write.
Yeah, the summary abatement is immediate. Anything that was immediate. In this case, I don't remember the facts involved, but for some reason, the summary abatement was not viable. So we had to go through the elongated process, which is a 30-day notice, a second 30-day notice, and then a final notice. Again, we're dealing with people's property. And when it comes to people's real property, there's constitutional protections involved. There's case law involved. So that process can take a while. But again, at the end of the day, I'd like to thank the property owners. They did what was required of them. They cleaned it up, and it was a bad situation. So we're just glad that they finally did what they needed to do.
So there was a cleanup in May with the neighborhood watch from Nice. And from that point is when they reported it. It got done around September, October timeframe. The Afanitos, they own a property right in front of the Nice, that softball field that they put out there. They own that property and are wanting to develop it. They also own Carson Street. So I linked them up with these folks so that they didn't know that their property was in disarray so bad. So it worked out that time. But so that's why it's important we talk about some of these things here, because you all know the community and you might know the property owner that lives abroad or wherever they're at, so that way we can get in touch with them, because sometimes they'll come and clean it. They know better, so that helps.
Remember, the cost for the property owner to clean the property is less expensive than when the county does it. So it's in the property owner's best interest for them to take responsibility and to address the issue.
Marcus, I have a question about vehicles.
Okay.
I don't know whether you know this or not, but all vehicles have identifying numbers.
Yep.
And generally speaking, that identifying number is linked to an owner.
Yep.
And if a vehicle is abandoned, does that abandoned vehicle technically still have an owner?
So there's a few ways to look at that. If the vehicle is abandoned, the owners basically abandon it. But with DMV has a registered owner, whether it's the person that last owned the vehicle or the person that bought the vehicle. Whatever information is with DMV, that's who we look to as being the registered owner. So I guess in theory, you could say, yes, there is a registered owner for these abandoned vehicles, but, tracking down that person or holding that person responsible is not something that this code enforcement division has a mechanism in place for. But we are working on putting that mechanism in place to hold that registered owner who is registered with the California Department of Motor Vehicles responsible. So to answer your question, yes, there is a registered owner, whoever is registered with the California DMV, and that person ultimately is responsible, and code enforcement is now working to put in a mechanism to hold that owner responsible for their vehicle. So if you sell a vehicle, you have a duty to go to DMV and make sure that you do a release of liability or release that vehicle and say, I have no interest in it. I'm no longer the registered owner. If you do not, code enforcement will hold you responsible. But at the end of the day, we use the reasonable person theory. If it looks abandoned, if it's in the same position, if there's cobwebs on it, we come to a determination that it's reasonably abandoned, we will then tag it and handle it appropriately.
Thank you. Any other questions? Marcus, we appreciate it that you've come here, and as Thomas mentioned, we would like very much to have you back again in a couple months or 3 months or something like that, just to report on how things are going with your department, if that's acceptable.
No, we're always accessible to the public. Like I said, I kind of like to hear some of the things that the crowd or the people there at your town hall have to say, because that makes me aware of what's going on, and it allows me to kind of start putting something together to address those issues. Remember, we are servants for the community. We are here to provide a service, and that service is to correct the code issues, clean up the garbage, get the junk cars off the street, and we're in a position to do that, and that's our job, and we're going to do it. So the more information I have about where these issues are located at, the better and the quicker I can get on them. Like I said, we don't like things to sit and fester because they become bigger problems.
Marcus, we have another question from somebody.
Lynn.
Okay, Marcus,
Yeah, right here. Come right here.
on the news tonight, President Biden.
Lynn, come here.
President Biden is going to give California $50 billion for wildfire prevention for homeowners in California to protect their homes from brush, abandoned cars, garbage that are surrounding their properties. Even though my property is spotless, I am surrounded by it in Nice, okay? $50 billion is coming to California. Please remember, President Biden knows California has a problem and spending a lot of money. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think everybody in Lake County knows that we have a problem, and we all have to do our fair share to mitigate this hazardous vegetation issue. Again, I'm trying to work with the local fire agencies. They're the experts at this. If we can get some coordination with them, that'd be great. But if you believe you have a hazardous vegetation situation, we do have a code in place. Let us know about it. But again, hazardous vegetation is a community issue. Everybody has to do their part. That's part of being a part of the community. So again, if you think there's something egregious or there's abandoned property, please let us know about it. We'll assess it and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Marcus.
Marcus, are you all implementing the fines that was put in place, the administrative fines? Are you able to implement those now?
So right now, we are working with a vendor a citation company to get the program going. There's some information that needs some clarity regarding the new administrative penalties. We can discuss that later, okay. Supervisor Crandall. I would appreciate that discussion, but we have a ball rolling. We are moving in the right direction. The citations are going to be a great tool. This county needs this tool. This is the best tool to hold those responsible parties responsible. And it brings money back into our coffers so we don't have to use taxpayer funds and always be going to the Board of Supervisors asking for money to correct these issues. So the citation program, we're working with vendors to get that in motion, get the technology in place, the administrative fines and penalties code or ordinance has been enacted. There's some cleanup that needs to be done, but we're going to get there, and my goal is to get there as soon as possible. Like I said, the citations is an industry practice. It's standard within code enforcement divisions throughout the cities and counties of the state of California, and it's something that we can use to our benefit, and I think it'll be most beneficial for the community as a whole.
Thanks. Thank you. Just to add to that, I think it was about in August or September, we voted on an ordinance so that what's the problem with code enforcement's hands were tied with a lot of situations. So if they found somebody in violation, they would have to wait for a sheriff to come out. And a sheriff would need the DA to prosecute. And that became a real big problem because obviously people aren't getting charged with anything or they're getting cited and released. So with this ordinance in place now, they can go straight to somebody and say, you have a fine now. And if you want to deal with it, you either pay it or you could appeal it to the Board of Supervisors. And so then it comes to us. And so that it gives them a chance to also recoup some funding rather than let it go into, when it goes to a lien, and then it waits till the property's sold. So I was glad that we put that in place. Hopefully that'll help with some of it. It's not a silver bullet, but it's going to help. You know, so.
Okay. Thank you, Marcus.
All right, you guys have a good night.
And you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm up next.
Yes.
I just wanted to make a public thank you to the Elks of Lakeport, the Lakeport Elks, Post 2704. We have Dave down here. They have been so supportive of our little senior center in Upper Lake. We are kind of like the last puppy as far as funding from county. We don't have congregate meals at this time, so they do supply $2,000 a month to keep, a year to keep our facility up and running. That includes all utilities. So when we get down to the end of the year, we're just about out. But the Elks have been supported. We've received 2 grants from them, and it's been COVID related. And our next venture will be to purchase a generator. We have a ham radio at the senior center, and we thought we could get the generator in time of any kind of crisis or emergency. We would be able to at least keep the phones going and information from the ham radio. They've also been very, very supportive with our food commitment, and it's been very successful. I have it open every month, so people, seniors and all people can come. So thank you, Dave. The group is amazing. And I also wanted to say that on Facebook tonight, the 2 things you've also sponsored that I've spoken about are the Kitty Cat Spay Leader Program and an essay contest at the middle school. A young lady that. But I mean, their community-oriented mindset is amazing. Overwhelmed by all of it, and we couldn't be where we are without you.
I also want to follow up. I bumped into some group of ladies cleaning Hill Road leading to the hospital when we have a bicycle. So thank you for that too. Wonderful work that you guys execute, not just talk. It's about execution, actionable solutions. Congratulations and great job on your part.
And with that being said, this is Dave Evans, who is the newest member of our council.
If you know Ray Carl,
yes.
That is my sister, my older sister. And she's the one that kept me coming here different times. And finally, the lady in the end down there twisted my arm and said, turn in an application. That's why I'm here. But just also the Elks. I've been in there for 28 years at Lakeport Lodge. We're a 200-member lodge. But our motto is Elks Care, Elks Share. And to this community, I think we're over $15,000 per year. Right here.
That's good.
From 200 members. So if you're interested, you can become an elk.
How do you become an elk?
Well, just that they're still ongoing, and I always, wherever I go, I come. If you want to support the North Shore Fire, please do. Yes. The monies are going towards specific things that the fire department needs, and they've got some, great donations that every bit helps to keep the department equipped. And I always go back to the thing that what first impressed me was the number of miles that North Shore Fire Department covers. 357 miles is their territory. And I think, as a community, to support them And because it could be one bus that has a medical emergency or a fire. So really think about them when we think about donations.
I just want to add to that, the North Shore Fire Fund is the best place to donate. And they also do some Century rewards and Blue Nose rewards. Sign up for those, that's just a way how that's good for every day.
There's a portion will go down.
Oh, I invited a friend today I met in Clear Lake, City of Clear Lake, where I work at, and her name is Camille Cummins. And she wanted to come over here to this North Shore, because she has, well, I'll let her introduce herself about her advocacy group and her office, and she'll share a little bit about what she's trying to do. Camille?
Thank you for having me. My name is Camille Cummins, and I am a community health and resource coordinator and consultant in Lake County. I serve mainly Clear Lake and Highway 20 for our Fire District 7 and our Fire District here in North Shore, District 75. I've been working in the community for the last 4 years. I've always been in some type of social services here in this community, but in the last 4 years, I've been working in community health. And what that has brought me to, we initially worked on, I don't know if you guys heard about the project for Health Leadership Network, where we worked directly with Chief Cepeda to provide community health and home visiting for high utilizers. What a high utilizer is someone who has been identified by our emergency medical services as a high utilizer or super utilizer of resources. So this takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, especially if someone is always in the emergency room, unless they don't engage in preventative care. This person may just go directly to the emergency room or contact the ambulance and I'm alone. What I found in doing this work is that I had more of our older adults, our aging population was my major caseload. And so we did the pilot, we were very successful. And the initial goal was to cut down super utilization of our Clear Lake Fire Department and ambulance services by 20%. I was able to make a change of 60% to begin to decrease those numbers. Well, when the pilot was done, we were hoping that someone else would pick up the project. They did not. So what I did when that project was over was I built Camille Monet LLC. And what that is a community health worker program that allows me to continue that work as a home visitor to support the senior community and the emergency medical resources, services resources, so that we can begin to still keep those numbers down. What I've done is I have opened up a business location in Clear Lake on Lake Shore. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with where Catfish Coffee House is, but I'm inside the plaza building there. And so what I do is, not only do I participate in our boards and committees like our mental health advisory board, I'm currently the vice chair for that, but also I help other community health programs to innovate and to make sure that we can really bring community health into 2022. By doing that, I've built programs and models and all types of things that I've been going through, with supportive supervisors and things like that. But what I'm doing in the meantime, while waiting for funding and things like that, is I've implemented support groups in Clear Lake. So I have some paperwork about that, but I'll just kind of tell you what they are. Mondays, we do My Elders Keeper. It's a family member and caregiver support group that allows us to help them with a skill build if they are self-taught because of emergencies in their family. It also helps them to, if they're IHSS workers, they can become more employable because a lot of times our IHSS workers don't have any skills, they're self-taught, which can create neglect, which can create abuse and financial abuse. And so to help mitigate that or to in some way minimize that and have an effect on it, we've offered to let family members come in and have conversations about how they're maybe stressed or just to help them alleviate some of those stresses and ask questions where we actually have groups of people like CNAs can come in and answer questions or help review videos on YouTube even for skill building possibilities. On Tuesdays, we have Community Health and Innovation, and that's a community advocate discussion group that allows our dedicated community advocates around the county to come and talk about what we want to see the community do and how we want to be involved in some of the things that go on. I myself grew up here. My family has been here since the late 70s. And so my grandparents retired here, my parents retired here, and that brought me back here. More so in service to the senior population. Because of course, we're beginning as a tourist community, we don't really have as much tourism because of the water, different things like that. And just the way the economy is going and the way COVID has affected us as well. And so to help do that, I want to really address isolation in our senior population. COVID, of course, is like 100 times worse than what it was before because we really can't get out. We don't always have access to our public transportation. Maybe it's too far away. Maybe it's the ground is too rocky. We can't walk there. So just talking about things like accessibility and things like that. On Wednesdays, I do something called capacity builders that allows our local agencies to participate, our fire department to participate in health education, whether it be fire safety or COVID awareness for our community. It may even be things like mental health resources, things that are just supportive where the community can come together and talk about it to know that they're not alone. Also on the community builders, on Thursdays, community builders and entrepreneur support group. I myself am an entrepreneur. Although my business is a community-based business, I still have to deal with the same things a regular entrepreneur would deal with. As I'm building my own business, but also adding a nonprofit component to that. Those things can be hard, and you have to kind of have people to talk to in your community that are also helping to build this community up. Because our businesses are the lifeblood of our community. We have to keep us going. So we have to be more supportive of one another. And if we don't know each other, how can we do that? On Fridays, I implemented something called Girl Talk. Although it's open to all genders and actually open to all ages above 13. I mean, it's basically just to talk about women's emotional health, and it's a resilience support that allows us to understand how we can go from just watching life pass by or watching life happen to really becoming proactive and really becoming more proactive in the community. So it's really about nurturing the nurturers of our community and reminding us that we are the nurturers and that we also need those support systems in place. So while we are much bigger as far as our vision when it comes to how we serve the community through community health and resilience and resources and all of that, while we're still looking into avenues of funding, we are doing a support group. So I think we're open between 4 and 6 because I still work a part-time job. I'm actually a property manager here at the North Shore Senior Complex over in Lucerne. And so most of what I do, it revolves around our aging population and how to keep them healthy and their quality of life best. So, thank you.
Very well. Would you ever be available for like creating that sort of opportunity on North Shore?
Absolutely. One of the things that myself and Chief Cepeda have discussed, I've also worked closely with Chief Ciancio as well to actually serve some of the people here in this area. I'd like to get here more. I've actually been working with a few people here in Glen Haven and places like that, but I truly believe that between Clear Lake and Highway 20, this is our most important, especially Highway 20, because it takes so long to get help if someone calls the sheriff. You know, we really want to create a more safe, and not even just more safe, we all want that, but really the confidence in the community to stand up for each other, to show up for one another. That's really what I'm here to do.
I go to the Mendocino Community Clinic. Dr. Field's my doctor, and I see a psychologist there, Dr. Hudson. And what I brought up with mental health over there is, like, I had $20,000 worth of damage to my house from Mendocino Complex fire. And every fire season, I got PTSD. I brought it up with the psychiatrist, psychologist. Every Lake County fire season, I'm thinking, is this the year my house is going to burn down to the ground in East, you know? And every time I hear sirens late at night, we have PSPSs, my power's out, I hear the neighbor down the street with firecrackers going on. I think the psychiatrists here in Lake County need to be more in tune with fire victims, you know? I mean, COVID's messed us up mentally too, but so is the fire season around here. Has mentally messed up a lot of us with PTSD.
So what I'd like to let you know is that part of the support group for capacity builders, as far as the health education information, we also support, part of health education includes COVID, includes fire safety, and that includes us in our communities who need to talk about that anxiety whenever we smell smoke or somebody's barbecuing.
Every fire season,
and so we've all been through that. And I don't want to get too into the personal part of what you're going through, but I do want to say that there is a community that supports you. And if you'd like to know more about what you can do to stay fire safe, and to keep your family fire safe, we also help with those things too. We gather information from our local fire department to help with that. So if you do need people to talk to about, just the things you need to get off your chest, if you're ever in the Clear Lake area, and until we can actually extend the locations into different places, if you're there, you're absolutely welcome to come to our
Well,
support group.
I like to educate the psychiatrists at these clinics, including Advanced Health and Medicine Community Clinic.
Well,
They should learn about this is a high fire
crisis
going to
counseling.
die in this county.
Crisis counseling is what you're looking for. Sounds to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like to me. Crisis counseling, and you got support centers like our senior support peer groups that do crisis counseling, as well as a couple different places. And so I'm thinking that there may be some others in here who may know how to get you in touch with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that will be really happy a place for you to be.
Because I'm not the only one. Yeah, it's some of my neighbors too. We're running for our lives. I mean, we couldn't see our hand in front of our face with Mendocino Complex. I couldn't breathe. I was choking on the street on Manzanillo. I can't breathe. I couldn't breathe in my house. It's horrible. Yeah. When you go through.
Do you have any additional blue flyers?
I do. I brought some. Somewhere we would like some. I can either pass them. I wasn't really sure how you want to do it. I can pass them out.
Do you have like a website?
I do.
Can you get that as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And would you like, if you take a look, I'm going to pass this out. And this actually has a list of our groups on there. And if you'd like a specific information, then I can give you that as well. If you see one of the support,
You could, Julie, right? Julia?
Julie?
You could, their discussion, you could put under emergency services.
Okay.
That way you.
I just want to say one thing about.
Yeah, no, I'm just letting you know because I know they're asking about public comment.
Yes,
With public
I told them we're going to have a whole thing about it.
Right, but with public comment, they can only say something and no one can really respond. But if you put it under that, then now we can have a back and forth. Everybody. Yeah.
So I wanted to mention Carson Street in Nice.
you're welcome. And you know what? When I got to you, I'm going to give you each one because when I got to you, I ran out of my quick flyer. Just so you kind of just know what's available. If anyone would like a specific day, I have them here as well.
Okay, that's a flyer for each of the little programs.
Yes, this is each individual.
And there's a listing for your website as well.
Here you go. Yeah. Yes, it's on here.
Thank you.
Yep, right there.
If anyone has any questions about any of the larger program models, as far as the community health work or the skill building, capacity building models, I have copies of this. Sure. You're welcome.
Okay, I just want to say something quickly about the building in Nice. I saw on the North Shore people that somebody was mentioning that building.
Oh, the building across from the Keeling Park.
Keeling Park, yeah.
Okay.
I remember I talked to you about it in the distant past, and you said it was kind of in bad shape.
Yes, so everyone probably knows this is the old Lions Club. And so it's right across from Keeling Park. And the county owns it. There was a project Jim Steele put in place for it. But when the Lucerne Harbor project came, it's been having issues with all of the water coming up to their waist and everything. So we focused on that funding first because they didn't have all of it for that building. The building also has a lot of problems with its infrastructure. And so we'll just look at some other ways through infrastructure funding to try to take care of that building. But that's the problem with that. That's why it's been sitting. And so I was talking to, what's his name, Bumpa Phelps? I was talking to him about it. That was the guy that mentioned it online on your, and so, and he had a lot of information from the history of what the.
So, is the county gonna work on making an operation?
Not exactly yet, but yeah.
No, that's the plan.
But in discussing it here, this helps because now it's on the radar, and during budget, I could say, hey, we had this project a couple of years back. Now that we got all the funding in from Lucerne Harbor.
To have a meeting in East.
It would be. It'd be good to be able to rotate there and here and Blue Lakes.
As the lady put it, she didn't like the one meeting fits all.
Right. The idea for this town hall is to represent from Nice, Upper Lake, even Lake Pillsbury, but but they're not usually here. But and Blue Lakes because of the west area of it. And so in Clear Lake Oaks, they called it the East Region Town Hall. They used to meet in Clear Lake Oaks, like at the fire station, and then they would meet out at Spring Valley. For whatever reason, they decided to just stay at the Moose Lodge and meet halfway. So, so that's something that you as a board can decide, like, hey, let's do every other meeting over in Nice or over in Blue Lakes, or if there's a spot we can meet in Blue Lakes that's the same size or something, we could do that too. We can talk about that another time, but that's just the idea that I think he wanted to talk about with the Nice, and so the Nice building. Yeah. Yes.
Is there a kitchen?
Yes. Yes, there was. I remember when I was in there back in the 90s, there was a kitchen, so it should probably still be there. Yeah.
We had our reception there.
Yeah, so
okay.
I know Lars said that the infrastructure underneath is really bad, and so that's what they were working on.
Like pipes?
Yeah.
So we worked around to retrofit it.
Right.
And you might even be able to get businesses to say, hey, let's have a barn raising sort of thing.
Well, I think what she's referring to as well is because the Lake County Risk Reduction Authority is working with Tammy and NCO with some folks that are out here right now, but they're supposed to be doing some work in the county and whatnot.
So we're applying for grants, but
yeah.
We're in the process of applying for that's for hazard mitigation.
Yeah.
But we do have building homes, building lights, which is a construction crew like workforce. Mm-hmm. So they're learning job skills. However, that program is only funded for a couple more months, but something like that. I mean, there's grants out there for workforce development that could be something. You learn the skills to be able to retrofit this building while you're retrofitting it. So, yeah, it's definitely. And then we turn it into a sliding scale restaurant.
There you go. Like we were talking about Lucerne.
Yeah. I'm going to get it. Whether it's a mobile truck or stationary, it's going to happen someday.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about levies. And I don't know how much of a discussion we'll have, but
well, they know a lot about it, so
yeah,
I just let them.
Yeah, of course. I want to get it in the.
Well, there's several people say something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am just here because I'm an environmental scientist and I walk my dogs on the levee on a regular basis. And I'm now starting to photograph with GPS coordinates and dates what's going on the levee. And that I'm noticing since October is every time after a rain event, a 2 to 4 foot chunk of the levee, and when I say the levee, we're not talking about the creek bed, we're talking about the banks. And those banks are falling into the creek. So there's a lack of stability. And I was at the meetings that the Water Resources Department held here. I couldn't attend one online one. And they did an engineering report, and they did a really cool thing where they showed what will happen because the levees cannot stand another storm event. The last 100-year storm event, and that means like a major storm, was back in '62, and if you drive up 101 to the Barber Road, you see that marker, that high water marker. That's a 100-year storm. And out in San Joaquin Valley and Rio Vista, and maybe some of you remember when the levees broke out there and Stockton and all that area was underwater for over a year. My concern, I have great concern to the point where I'm on my phone because I can't get permission, is that this levee over here, there's undermining going on from animals, varmints, and whatever's happening every time the chunk falls off, which I have documented and I'm leaving with you because I'm requesting that this group, because it's our only governmental group, writes a letter to the Department of Water Resources and says, get some riprap down ASAP, and this is why. Upper Lake is a wetland. It's actually, prior to the levees, the filtering system for Clear Lake. And when Army Corps of Engineers put in the levees in the early 70s and did a really good job, they then turned over the maintenance of those levees to the County of Mendocino Department of Water Resources. I asked, how much do they get from the Army Corps of Engineers? And they said $17,000 a year.
Lake or Mendocino?
Lake.
Okay.
To maintain these levees from the Army Corps of Engineers. They have not been maintained over the last 25 years. I talked to Larry David, who I asked to come today. He and his father used to maintain them. They are about to collapse. And that would be fine if there wasn't hydrology behind that. We're familiar with hydrology. But water gains more speed and impact the faster it moves. And when something breaks, the impact of the hydrology is huge. It's a force that you can't stop. And that's where my concern lies. You know, this community, a lot of homes are built up high and survive the flooding that used to take place. They will not survive that. There are cars and boats parked right where I'm going to do this. The levee is continually being removed to the point where the flood area is gone by about 12 feet, and there's only about 8 feet left. And then we're screwed. They're going to, that hydrology, that force of that water is going to move those boats and cars into all these homes. And I want to prevent that. I don't want to have to move. I don't want to be scared. I'm scared. And I'm not even a neighbor. There's some neighbors of what's happening that have to be more scared than I am. But I am in the direct line of that breach. And I've got 2 homes in the direct line of that breach. And that's my life savings, right? So I am very concerned for not only my well-being, physically, emotionally, and financially, but everyone. Nobody's paying attention. I've written to the Water Resources Department, the young woman that's in charge, who I have her card on my office desk.
Marina?
I'm sorry?
Marina?
Yes. She's young and enthusiastic, which is beneficial, and believes she's proactive. But when I bring up the liability that the county holds when this event takes place, she says, oh, we can take care of that. When I bring up the event, not directly to Carol, but to her best friend, Carol Hutchins, they don't think this is going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. My professional opinion is it's going to happen in the next, the way that it's falling out after every rain event, and maybe in the next 12 months, but definitely in the next. Somebody's got to do something. Otherwise, this community is going to flatten. And here's my documentation, and there are people that know more about the levees than I do, because they live right on it. But here's my documentation every month, grouped into the groups of dates. There, you know, when I document anything for the Water Board or Fish and Wildlife, I use this program that I'm using here. It GPSs and time and date stamps everything. You can see it. Please write a letter to the Water Resources Department and demand that they put up riprap, and the fact that that levee can't hold 100-year storm means that this whole community is at risk. How does that affect our property values? I'm going to have to disclose this if I sell. I mean, this is not a good situation.
at all. And I prefer to have everybody else talk about it. I'm just here to document it. It's scary to me.
But as you
I'm
say,
scared.
this is your professional opinion.
Yep. And I'm scared.
And just to add, there has been a lot of calls that I've received about this as well. So as a town council, if you can write a letter to the Board of Supervisors so that we can ensure this.
Because us citizens are getting nowhere. Some of them have been complaining for years.
I like to intervene on that. She's got a good point and everything, but riprap is just a Band-Aid. If the water's going to find its way around unless you're going to cement the whole friggin' levee, then you've got a good cause. But please, you need to just clear out the junk, the willows, the trees, the blackberries, the silt. Just clean it up.
Out of the creek, out of the
Yes.
or the creek bank, or the whole thing.
The whole center, the whole creek.
So that's the middle creek.
It's choked shut.
It's choked
Yeah.
shut.
Yeah.
All the way across.
And there's sediment, like he's saying as well. That's another thing that's built up pretty high.
Every time the bank slides into there, there's more sediment. But we're talking about long-term solutions, which is bringing everything out and making an emergency short-term solution. We need now. We need something, even if it's just a Band-Aid.
So you're saying you need something for the next 24 months?
No, she says that
Well, no,
within the
she's
next
saying
24
that
months.
she's saying that it's going to be something catastrophic within the next 24 months. The long-term solution is whatever
Clearing the willow, blackberry bushes.
Cementing the whole bloody
Well,
thing.
it's going to be millions of dollars worth of project.
It usually is, isn't it?
I mean, but we need to
That's
do
what happens when
something
it floods.
now. We can't wait for that.
When it floods outside the creek.
I have a question regarding the $70,000 a year. Is that in a fund or what's happening?
I asked
That
that
looks very
question.
similar
I
to
have no idea where that $17,000
That's up in a cumulative.
Right.
Well, if you get it and you don't spend it, it should
Be
still
a
be
cumulative,
there.
right.
Well, my concern is it's been diverted somewhere else.
Well, that's not legal.
Well, whether it is or not, we need to get, that's what, Marlena or whatever her name is.
Marina.
Told me is that they don't have the funds to do anything to repair it. And I said I would donate money to save my investment and to feel safe. And I'm sure other much of my neighbors would too, to get something done. I mean, I would donate $10,000 to get something done.
Our taxes are very for this. I pay significant amount of taxes for this every year because I have multiple cars. And the only thing they do to maintain it is mow it.
Yeah, that's it. And that's once a year, way into fire season.
Way past fire season
Yes,
started.
yes.
July 4th is when they
Yeah.
know.
It has been neglected.
Or after July.
And we can't neglect it anymore. We need to shine a bright light on it because we're gonna have a catastrophic event.
So I want to
She's
get,
not convinced we are.
I want to get your information, your professional information.
Sure.
If I'm going to write a letter, or we're going to write a letter,
Well,
we want to have some teeth.
And the engineers that did the report that says this is not a 100-year storm safe, they
presented it in December, right?
Yeah, they know.
To the water
Right,
resources.
and so all you do is reference that and just talk about how the community
Okay, so
really wants to.
we need to have all the information. We're supposed to reference, who's supposed to, it was brought to us by her, and it
By
references
the
this.
community.
And it's like, hey.
The neighborhood, I mean, I'm not gonna, we've got Melinda
Yeah,
and.
oh, I
Would
can
it-
sign, absolutely.
Would it help if people had a bunch of people sign a letter?
Petition of some sort.
That would help too.
And we write a letter to, yes,
The county has been sued before 2 years ago, and still nothing's been done.
about this exactly.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
She's not here today, but Sandy Robinson has sued the county, and nothing has been done. As zilch.
Yeah, it helps.
You know,
Well,
we're
whether
talking
it
about.
happens or not, we're about to lose it. That's why
Yeah.
I am scared, and I'm not typically scared of these things. We've got a water resources department that's doing nothing, that claims they're proactive, and they're doing nothing because they claim they have no money. And when I try to suggest, hey, I'll donate money, and I'm sure I can get other people to.
Would you be available to advise on the writing of this?
You bet I would.
Okay,
For free, I won't even charge you.
There's no amount of money that we donate, it's just gonna be drops in a bucket. If it's isn't a multi-million-dollar project.
Well, I have an idea. Once everyone gets to comment, I'll explain some of the actions I took because there was a funding issue and I actually had proposed a plan, but I'll let everyone finish theirs first and then I'll address what I at least.
To me, there's two ways we need to have that. Emergency Band-Aid and long-term solution.
Yeah.
Because we can't wait for this long-term solution, funding, design, whatever. It's gonna happen before then. So we need a Band-Aid now.
So even though we're not getting much rain right now, next year, who knows what's gonna happen?
We're getting rain, and that rain could take 2 to 4 feet off of the embankment every time it rains.
But just like in the rain that we've been getting like this year?
Yep, that's what's documented.
So like every season.
No, every couple months.
But I mean, we don't necessarily get rain every couple of months throughout the year.
The amount of rain that has occurred since September to present, I have gone out after every rain event, and after every rain event, we have lost the level.
Okay, and this is what you got there.
Right.
So, okay.
I'll present this one when you guys are finished. Something that I tried to work on through Blue Ribbon Committee, but
love to hear it.
Yeah. So what I tried to do, this is in 2019. I'm on the Blue Ribbon Committee. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is, but it's the committee that Cecilia Aguilar Curry put some funding towards Lake County. So in essence, we put together a group of people that meet quarterly about how to not fix the lake, but ensure that the lake is free of sediment and becomes clear lake again. My thought though is that they could study that, but it's not taking care of the problem. Something that would take care of the problem for me was Clover Creek used to be the initial creek that actually, because we also have the Middle Creek Restoration Project that's supposed to be taking place too, that's been going for 30 years. So my hope was to kind of marry the Clover Creek with that Middle Creek, and hopefully with this Clover Creek project, clearing all of those blackberries and all of the sediment and all of that to ensure that it flows back into its original state, it would evade having to go through Middle Creek, because I know that they're working on something and I didn't want to conflict with Water Resources, because every time I talked to them, they were talking about different studies that they're waiting on from the state and things like that. So I hope that I can go around them to the Blue Ribbon Committee. So what I did was talked about the history that you talked about briefly, about how, what it was initially, why they did it. And all of you kind of know all of this about the history of why it was done. And so let me get to right now, of course, sediment buildup, blackberry bushes, current gate blockages. The gate is really bad as well. So there's rat infestation in Clover Creek because of the blackberry bushes and because of the garbage that people dump and the homeless dump in there. So Upper Lake floods not only through that side but also because Clover Creek floods quickly as well. So the road and drainage damage is a problem in Upper Lake. So I was hoping that by doing this, it can help, mitigate all sorts of other issues. Plus, hoping that we can get that group to vote yes on it, I added the hitch, because that's one of the right. And so I tried to add that into it and talked about the hitch for that problem. So I showed a map of how it used to drain in essence. And so right now, this is the diversion that you're all talking about, where it has all of the willow and all of the sediment that's flooding anyhow. I remember being there in the 90s, I want to say the early 90s, and there was nothing in there. It was just clear, but now it's just trees. I've been taking some people out there that build sweat lodges because the willow's so high. So we cleared some of it, but it's not even enough, but it's still so much, it needs to be eradicated. But here's the Clover Creek original, this is where the hitch used to originally go through and spawn. So my hope was to clear this all out, take out all of the blackberry bushes so that it could flow naturally again. And so I took pictures of how bad it is. And this was in 2019, so it's still far worse. I showed the roads, the buildup at the gate, things like that. And at the bridges where the blackberry bushes, they can't get through here. Not only that, but it floods. I mean, it's probably still flooded, I would think. I mean, If it rains, just like the day that I seen Bob out there, it was already like not even a foot is all it needed more before it would start flooding over. And so just showed more. This is just more blackberry bushes, showing the I think that's First Street or 20. Yeah, this is Highway 20 where the bridge is. And that was showing the natural old flow. I didn't think they would go with this, but I just highlighted that there was an actually natural flow to the beginning of Middle Creek. And then that was just how the flow is so if that marries to the Middle Creek project, what I was hoping is these flows that they have to build once they get that project finally underway, then it would flow naturally, provide that the marsh area that it used to be, Bloody Island to be an island again. And right now, this is how it looks because of the farming that they implemented back in the 20s. And so then I just had some hitch just to show pictures of that. Road damage, showing the road damage. There's a lot more, but I actually went to the one you showed me that time, showed them that. Actually, this was like right after we met. This is when I started building this. Jim Steele came and talked with me, and he had a lot of information, and this is part of his idea as well. I got voted on yes twice, but because it wasn't shovel ready, which I felt it was, but it wasn't, and I couldn't get numbers because they conflicted with their project that they probably presented to you in December. Back in 2019, 2020, this got put to the wayside and other projects got put forward. So that was one attempt that I tried to do. We could still try to do it again. The thing we need to do, though, is meet amongst each other. Also, there was a list done when, I want to say in the 80s, 90s or something along those lines, where they cleared it before. They had to get private property signatures for people that would allow people to come in their area behind the creek so that they can actually clear that brush. So there's going to be that. There's going to be any buy-in from the town of Upper Lake for this, but this was just an idea to try to help with that. If there's more ideas that you and I can think of for the Blue Ribbon Committee.
Yeah, well, to me, this is a good purchase. But again, it has been found by the
Right.
On top of that, we've got the levee falling away, and it's going to disappear, and we're going to, that hydrology, you know, what you're talking about is important and good, but the land handle the normal flooding that happens, although it will happen at a sooner time in a rain event than it would in the past. What I'm talking about is hydrology. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a huge push. I mean, you know, I don't know that I'm not an engineer, so I can't calculate the force of what's going to come out of that levee, but it's going to annihilate this town because of everything that's going to go with it. And that's an event this town has never seen before. And that's my concern. We've got to do something to stop that levee from continuing to remove itself, because you're talking about it never seen before. Because we've never seen a levee breach like that. There's been a washout down by you, which also needs to be addressed. And it's just further, it's across the Elk Mountain, right there at the Elk Mountain Road area. I'm worried about the hydrology. That's where we're going to have a catastrophic. Not if, we're going to have it. It's about when, and I'm afraid it's going to be very good.
After I talked with Mr. Partita, I did speak with Marina, and she said that the studies that everyone's so frustrated with waiting on should be conducted this year. And so once those are conducted, they can do the work that's needed to be done to clear those. But at the same time, one thing that I found out with the Lucerne dredging project, it's not similar, but it's like apples to oranges, but the concept is the same. What happens is if there's a announcement of a project, the agency takes 60 days. They use the full 60 days. Even if they get it the first day, they still take that full 60 days to answer. And if they have a question and send it to the county, and the county gets it done and sends it back, they take another 60 days.
It's very nice.
That's the problem we have with the state, and that's the problem that, like, the Lucerne Dredging Harbor project has been going since 19 as well. And I thought it'd be done last year, and it's still gonna take probably till the end of this deal. And like, for example, if there's a new supervisor next year, they'll benefit from it, but that's good, at least it's done. But it's because of these state mandates and whatnot. So.
Here's a work. You know, this, because of this, and because CDFW's jurisdiction is on banks themselves, this levy is defined as, they have something called an emergency. And you can bypass all that shit and do land without any LSA, place limit alteration, any kind of permit. I just did it on a project with Bridge Village, and you don't even have to ask for their permission. Unfortunately, the levy, or fortunately, the levy hasn't vested, but the levy falling into the creek is an emergency situation. And when I told the engineers out of Sacramento, and they're out of Sacramento, different group of people are dealing with the state agencies in this region. We're in a different region. You know, I said there are grants you can get to help fund this stuff, and they wanted, you know, contacts, and I have been, but I've been talking to Water Resources. I just haven't got, he's on my desk, like, about to be.
Any communication, let's CC me from control.
Okay. I will, and I'll send it, I'll send, what I'll do is send them the next set of photographs, because I'm going to respond. I'll see on that one. And I'll give you my contact info. But I really think this board, because it's the only government agency that we have, has to write a letter. It would be negligent not to at this point. And it would be negligent for Lake County not to put some riprap up this spring. But again, they can go under an emergency order because the banks are falling in. I mean, that's an emergency under CDFW, and get something so that we can at least kind of get for 2 more years. Because it's right now, we're in trouble. I mean, that hydrology and what's going to happen, we need an engineer to talk about it. People get the idea that this is on. I don't think she understood. Nobody knows what staff thinks is going to happen. And it is. They're not experts.
I know that there's been previous employees that work there that have told them, and I think there's, I don't know, differences in belief. For me, I've talked to, I know Larry before, and I believe what he says. I've known him since high school.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not sure why. I know he worked for the county for a long time, so I'm not sure why they're not taking his
or
expertise.
Anyone. I mean, it's, to me, they'll finally act when it happens. That's going to be, there's going to be lawsuit. These people have been talking about this. I've only been talking to them. These people know what I do about it.
Right.
I'm just documenting now and using my professional opinion and my professional skills to do so. But we're in trouble. This is a problem. And to do nothing is not an option. People's lives are going to be destroyed, if not a majority.
So, how are we going to do this?
What you can do, what you can do is someone can make a motion to write a letter.
Or to set up a committee or something.
You could either do a committee to write a letter, but first you have to vote to write a letter.
I gotta have more information about what's the
What you do is, first you vote to do one, then you create a committee, an ad hoc committee of 2 people, and they be heard to do a letter. And then after you do that, you can work on it. Sound good?
Thank you. Okay, so, do we want to start a letter writing committee? We have a second. You seconded? Exactly.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, All right, so who's gonna hit it? Yes, you certainly can.
Really pinpoint what he said for a variety of including one of those. Because that's what I see.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Resources.
I just want to say, I have a petition.
Well, at least have a letter, everybody in the community signs it.
Well, I think the letter needs to go out right away, but then you follow up with it.
Well, I'm thinking that you want a letter, you want a community member.
Yeah.
I've been discussing about my projects with Bruno, and he had suggested at one point, because Chief Cepeda, as well as some others, believe that the program that I'm building should be something that should be picked up by public health, because we don't have much of a senior community health type of program through public health at this time. And at the time, he had asked if there was a way for me to do a presentation so that he himself and you as well would be able to listen in on it and find exactly what it's about. Chief Cepeda is willing to actually host a meeting or a presentation for me to do that so that I can present it, but it would be something I know that public health is just making some changes to their direction.
Yeah, they got a new director.
What I wanted to, so is it okay if I leave you a copy of what we're working on?
Yeah, this would be great. And who did you guys want to present in front of?
Well, I think Chief Cepeda, because what we're looking for is, although my company is an LLC, I'm opening up a nonprofit just so that I can be more open to more different types of funding. So what this program would do is allow us to have a community health worker program in conjunction with a home visiting skill builder program that would teach families how to take care of their older adults inside the home.
Okay.
We would like to see it eventually extend into even our more autonomous communities where they like to do things on their own.
Yeah.
And so teaching people how to take care of the people inside the home, teaching people how to, having those extra skills so that they are more employable if their loved one passes away or goes to the hospital. So things like that. But to bring this community resource navigation, it's basically community health that is referred directly to our fire department. When they identify someone, they basically send us in to get it done. And then we would basically send a community health worker in for 1 hour a week, and then send like a CNA or a skill builder in the home for 1 hour a week to just help them with their duties, to help them skill build and just learn more about how to just make sure that our older adults are better taken care of, so they're not having those reoccurring emergency room visits and things like that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
The seriousness of this, I mean, I'm ready so then I'm gonna have to disclose it. And that means less money, and this is why.
Does anybody want to be involved?
As far as what? Signing?
Well, signing, yeah, I think probably, like if we get it set up and like next month we'll present a letter that people can sign.
What you could do is provide a petition so they could sign onto it, like a sign sheet. That way it signs all the community members that are attached to the letter, and then the letter's coming from the work committee.
I would just like a recording that we have been talking about it for 2 years and nothing's been done.
We can put that.
This meeting's recorded as well, so yes.
We need action. We don't need no studies.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can also tell the people you know that you think might want to be involved in putting their name on it to come next month.
The long term that you've been talking about, that's going to clear that. Those 2 studies are the last things, and I'm not happy with them either, believe me. I just know that that's what I was told from Water Resources, that once those are done, they could start going out to bid, doing the RFQs, RFPs, and getting it done. That takes care of the long term, but in the meantime, we have to figure out what to do from there.
It's a Band-Aid.
Now, will downtown East flood too? My house is.
I think Nice is okay.
Downtown East is okay.
I think Nice is, this is mainly Upper Lake.
Over here,
Right.
okay, I just want to know that, okay, thank you.
You know, off the subject, last month, yes, made a comment about the road job down here. There was no traffic on the fog lines. He said he lives in Potterville.
Yeah.
And he said he'd take care of it 2 days. And stripes, fog lines. So
They did?
they did.
I love it when they do that.
We're working on it now. What's that? The road construction, yeah, on 20. Okay. Last month, I was telling them you get in there in the morning at 2:30, you get stuff. There was a fog line, there was a center. 2 days after I told them that, they had it.
Yeah.
Somebody went into strike.
So the lives are at risk, I think, and what is just the whole, you can't wait it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Please come again on other issues. We enjoy your company and get the community to come out. Besides, we can continue to talk these issues with you, but for other issues, we love seeing the community come.
Every third Wednesday, here at 5:30 is when these meetings are. And he has a Facebook, I think you have a Facebook account. I created another one, I didn't realize he had one. So, Worth Facebook, so we'll tag those also in with the I know that there's like a North Shore or like Upper Lake
I
Connect.
share it to the Upper Lake
Okay, yeah.
Neighborhood Watch site,
There we go.
which I'm an administrator.
Could you have somebody from the water board come in next week?
That would be next month, that would be great. That would be great. That would be so great.
You know, have their opinion.
That's all up to you, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you mean,
The county.
the people who are.
Oh, the Water Resources Department. Yes, let me see if I can.
No, the people who are.
Should I suggest they come to the Risk Reduction Authority?
What's that?
Should I suggest that they come to the Risk Reduction Authority? Because, I mean, the water departments are there.
They're there?
Water resources are there.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So we have a meeting on Monday. If you know what this is like, send it out to you.
The Risk Reduction Authority meetings are on Mondays, and every entity is there. So a lot of different folks are plugged in there. Right. Yeah. So that's a Monday meeting. It's a Zoom meeting, so you don't have to drive all the way to Lake Forest. So we could get those.
How do we get? If you email me, I can get you on the invite list.
I think I have your phone. I have your phone number. I'll text it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just send me an email.
Wait, I have your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be another, the only way we're gonna get action is come at it from every single angle. And honestly, and it's almost like.
Is there anybody got anything to say? All right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. You had asked who he wanted to get me in front of.
Yeah.
And really, I think it's more about in the community fund this type of program, and even on a small scale. Just because, and I was going to ask you, do you think that this belongs in kind of a risk reduction program? Because the thing is, we're dealing with a lot of our healthcare workers who just don't have enough information and they're self-taught, and it's creating a big issue for our senior community. We have so many seniors because it's towards, the retirement town, but we have so little people who come back to serve the community in this way. So I'm just wondering, what are your, ideas about this?
I'm thinking too that we could, because you're talking about the senior community and getting them linked in. we could,
between Clear Lake and Highway 20, so from Clear Lake to Upper Lake. A friend of mine who also is on the mental health advisory committee with me, Betsy Kahn, she talks a lot about it as well. She was asking me, could I extend up to Upper Lake? And I was telling her I'm already extended to Nice, so I guess absolutely I would extend up to Upper Lake.
yeah.
And so